an elected official, and next year's an election year, so by law we have to have a compensation plan for the district the year prior, and it has to be board approved by February 15th. So this is the 4th year, so it has to be this year. It goes into effect. It won't go into effect until January 2026, post the election results of who's appointed. So what we're looking at for the compensation plan here is we're looking to raise the rates minimally for the next 4 years, and that's due to there was a rate lock the past 8 years. So the tax collectors have not witnessed a raise for any of their collection needs since 2018. So we'll jump. Any questions on the tax collector resolution? This is why we have to do it. Just by law we have to because of election year, and that's what we're looking at. So we're going to look at the rates of that. So with the raise of the tax collector compensation, this is kind of a twofold problem. So the tax collectors are elected officials, but we also want to make it enticing that somebody wants to run to collect taxes. So it is a nominal fee to collect taxes per bill. So right now in our current resolution, we have $3.30 per bill or $1.10 per installment. And per capita bills is $202.75. So the proposed would be a budget increase next year if we would pursue this is $4,000 to go up to $3.54 per bill or $1.18 per installment, and then per capita would go up by 20 cents to $2.95. So this is, like I said, a twofold problem. We want to actually have our somebody run the tax collection, because if we don't, then we have to have somebody appointed, and normally it's somebody within the district or hiring somebody or going out to the public and asking somebody to be a tax collector. So that creates a problem then internally of who collects them, how do we do it, how do we make sure that we are internally meeting the controls that, I mean, they're separate, they can collect there, then we can do it in-house, because we also have to reconcile it now. So they always have to be our employee, but separate internally, which we have to look at that. So that's why this ask is on here, because we we acknowledge their hard work, and that's why this proposal is here together. So any questions on putting this forward? I know the timing-wise, February wouldn't go in effect until January of 2026, so this budget increase would only go in effect until 2026, and this would lock in for 4 years at this rate. So it'd be an initial increase, and then it would status quo for 4 years.
So, did they ask for this?
So I'm still in meeting with them to hear feedback if this is not something that they're unhappy with. Some of it is, this is the environment that when I met with all the other business managers, they are doing this same thing. As they recognize that it's a struggle to get tax collectors, that to do this is how they keep them. So this is, everybody's going to have this in front of their board, and everybody we talk to is going to raise their prices.
So what happens if you don't get the tax collector? They quit, or who does the job?
So from the township perspective, the township gets to appoint their person, or they can try to get somebody, and then we have the opportunity. Typically what you try to do is you try to get the same person, but it doesn't have to be. So if they pick somebody else, we want somebody, we have to take care of that ourselves, or we have to appoint somebody. So for example, we have a tax collector who resigned mid-year. They appointed the county. We just appointed the county alongside them, but we're still paying the county to collect. But they're at the mercy of being able to hire people. I met with them, and they're struggling to be able to keep up their workload. So they're not going to be able to take more on, so to speak, at large.
Do we still have the county collecting? It's Germany Township you're talking about.
Correct.
So is the county's collecting, and are they collecting at our fee schedule, or do they set the fee schedule?
Correct. They are, but they wouldn't have to. But they currently do.
Do they charge more?
They couldn't charge. They could renegotiate that because of the count, but At the moment, they just honor current existing contracts. Because a lot of times they're short-term because they want an elected person, but they don't have to honor the exact resolution, the same past practice they have. So we can put it, like, everything I always say, we can always change it back. This is just a proposal. But as of right now, I've asked for their comments. They have provided no comments of an opposition, so I don't think anybody's opposed to this.
How'd you come up with the amounts that you wanted to increase it?
This was just based off of conversations with other surrounding districts about what their raises were and kind of taking that into part.
Are they the same size as us?
Obviously, no district's exactly the same size, but we kind of roughly give, so everybody's a wild range of what they pay their tax collectors. But we did take, since it's a tax collector renewal year, we all asked what everybody's doing, so we all stay consistent across the board.
So you really don't know if this is a problem yet, if we don't increase it?
Yeah, because it's an election year, and whoever runs, we have no control over who runs for election or
If
what.
somebody,
Correct.
I mean,
We have
Somebody
rules.
might not run because it says
do
you
you
don't pay
think
it.
that do you think that this few extra cents is really gonna be enticing to make somebody wanna do the job if they wouldn't wanna do it otherwise? Like 20 extra cents?
I mean, for them, it just depends on, I can't speak for their personal circumstances to know if that's gonna make an effect. But this is just where we ended up based off of other people's, ranges, that this is kind of where they're going. We didn't do the last raise that other people did as well. So like I said, we had 8 years, we held steady. So we do it again, that's 12 years of holding it at $3.50.
When does this have to be decided upon? Is it by mandate, by?
February, yeah, February, so
So
February
we don't really
15th.
have any time, like you can't go and talk to them and kind of get how they feel about it.
So I have
or-
meetings scheduled. Unfortunately, the snow kind of pushed those back. So I had 2 today, I have the rest of the 4 tomorrow. So unfortunately, the snow kind of pushed them back.
Out there, I would think you asked.
Well, I mean,
No, I sent them ahead of time to schedule them. So they were aware, they already saw that, they saw the plan, they saw the pitch, but I said it has to go in front of the board. But I wanted to make them aware, and I said, if you have any opposition, let me know ahead of time. And then I heard nothing, they just said, we're happy to meet
Tom,
and discuss.
do you believe that this is a fair increase for the tax collectors for what they do?
Yeah, I think comparatively, I think any increase, since they haven't seen one, is, good news for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been doing the job for 8 years for no pay increase, so I think any increase for them would be good news for them.
So you made cuts in the budget at other places to be able to do this increase? right?
Well, that'll be part of the budget process. This is ahead of that process. This is one of those ones that goes outside of that realm of timing.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't go into effect until January 2026. We'll have a review on the full board. It's just an ask to put it in
I was
front
gonna
of
say,
the
it's
full
going to
board.
be in front of the full
Yes,
board. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely, put it in
yes.
front of the full board,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
But it always comes here first to say,
Yep.
nope, table it, go back. So,
Nick,
They both agreed, so I'm in the minority, but yeah. You go to the board.
okay.
okay.
All right. So we'll jump ahead. So the auditors, original contract ran out this year with this most recent audit that concluded. I'm looking to renew them as auditors for the next 3 years, and that is their initial contract, which would be, if this goes, if it's out of committee, would go in front of the full board as well. So that's just what they gave me. When they came in, I asked, I said, can you give me what a renewal for 3 years would look like? And this is what they gave me. So this is here in front. Okay. Yeah, we have to have an alternate.
It's mandated, that is.
To have a yearly audit. Okay.
No questions? Good.
So banking, we're having some struggles with Adams County National Bank. Currently, we only have our student activity accounts, which are student-raised funds that are managed by the students. The board just kind of oversees those as a whole. You allow them to create their funds, allow them to manage their funds. We as a district just kind of help them. Like when they cut checks, we cut them for them. We manage that money. But they are in charge of all the revenue and generating revenue and buying things with that revenue. The unfortunate thing with Adams County National Bank is more and more companies with check fraud and stuff are asking for ACH payments. Now they're ACB is requesting a $50 setup fee for each vendor and a $2.50 per ACH, which, based off current student activities, is $237.50 a year, which for student activities doesn't seem like a lot. For them, they don't generate a lot sometimes. It depends on the club. So this could negate a lot of.
Per club.
Well, this is per transaction.
It's $50 per transaction.
No, it's a one-time setup fee for vendor, then $2.50 per transaction.
So everybody that's paid out of the student activity checks, it's a 50. That's ridiculous.
$50, yeah. If they're selected for an ACH, and like I said, more and more are going to ACH. We internally like ACH. It safeguards us from fraud, fraudulent checks, people trying to take them from the mail, everything else. So we prefer ACH, vendors prefer the ACH. So this is kind of the migration. The unfortunate thing is they're now charging us a fee for that.
Have you told ACB that you're going to leave if they?
We have not. I think it's just a standard-wide fee structure that they're
The students have to raise this money in this account, perhaps.
correct. So that's where the ask is to just. That's the only account we currently have with the Adams County National Bank is to, like I have a quotes closed. We currently have a CD with some student activity funds that wouldn't lapse until 2027. Obviously, we don't want to go out of that early because that creates more fees for them. So we would keep that account open, but only open for the CD. Every other transaction would go through our PISLAF account,
And they
which
don't
we
have fees?
no, we currently do everything through them. It's just it takes board action to close the account to start a new account.
Makes sense.
And there's no
Yeah.
ACH fee.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to jump into transportation. So we're just going to preface, we're going to have two options that just for discussion tonight. Very similar to the athletics, it's just for discussion. We're going to talk about which direction the board wants to, if there's one off the table, just let us know. If not, both can be move forward. So the first option is maintain transportation services in-house. So our current rate for 25-26, this upcoming year, is $80.34 for bus drivers. It's been a conversation topic of the board. We're struggling keeping in-house bus drivers. So to combat that, we would look to be competitive with contractor rates. So when we research what contractors are currently paying some of their staff, it range from $125 a day to $145 a day. So obviously you want to stay competitive. So we were looking at, I ran scenarios for $140 a day to $150 a day. What that would do is if we were fully staffed, so these numbers are based off fully staffed numbers, would range from $180,000 to $215,000, which obviously that's a big budget increase. That would need a tax increase to kind of compound. So I also want to say that this just focuses on our internal routes for bus drivers. We would still have contracted services. This would not be 100% in-house. We would still have our special needs, our athletics, and our non-pubs outsourced. This would just be focused on keeping our internal routes internal.
Why'd you do 140 to 150?
To stay competitive with the contractor rate of 125 to 145. Because obviously that's based off of what they have today. We anticipate they're going to have an increase, so we want to stay in that range to stay competitive with it. Correct.
Is there a second option? You have option one there?
Correct. So I just wanted to see if there's any
All right.
questions on option one. So then option two would be the the opposite aspect would be to outsource our transportation. So this would the process would be creating an RFP for transportation services. We would look at anywhere from ranging from 4 to 7 years of a contract. Right now, based off estimations, we're talking with other districts of similar size that have something, it would estimate maybe 1.3 to 1.5 million as annual cost. Currently budgeted between contractor services and internal, we have close to 1.4 million. So we're right in that ballpark range. Obviously, that's blinders on today's factors based off of not going RFP, not knowing what we're creating. So that's just, right now on paper it says we are in the ballpark to be able to, if we want to outsource, we might see a slight budget increase.
So if we outsource then, how many employees will we lose then? Will we not lose like a transportation person, mechanic, something?
So that would be part of the RFP process, and the board can decide what employees. The only one we, by law, have to have is we have to have a director to manage the transportation to upload to the state. That is the absolute requirement. The other employees, that is per the board to be able to decide any and all employees of who's employed by the district.
So, Tom, how many districts are in-house right now?
We are-
That you compare with your comparative numbers?
We are one of 3. So
And how many districts are out there that are outsourced?
So obviously the rest of them. So I think it's how
We have
many?
about approximately 26 districts in the IU.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we are one of 3 in the IU. So
And-
it's us, Southwest, and
Southwest.
Chambersburg.
Okay, so every one of these districts has had this conversation, they came to their threshold, they went from one to another because of the overall expense, or option 1, you're raising taxes. And there's no guarantee if you raise those taxes, because you're bidding against a private company that can take a hit and do less profit and put more in to outbid those parameters. And then you still might not, if you get these taxes raised and everything, and still not get what you want.
And the thing that we're doing that the contractors are not doing is the 30% on top of the salary in the PSERS.
34.
Which actually kicks us 30% underneath what competitive is.
Um,
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm sure that a condition would be that we would want the contractor to absorb our drivers.
Yeah, so that's part of the RFP process. So just some of the other bullet points here is that when we would go, if we would go this route, we would look to at least keep a couple buses and a couple vans for internal use. Obviously, we can use them at any point in time for whatever scope of things we want. So obviously, there's still trips we can have. We still have people who have CDL license that could drive buses, or we have people who, obviously, any coach or somebody can use a van, we can use it for internal.
So
there's
the
still-
newer stuff we bought, we can keep.
Correct. We would look for RFPs, we could look at selling the remaining fleet. I have that on here. Obviously, we could keep it, but it doesn't really makes financial sense to do that. But we can look at that RFP. I forget who asked about.
I think we can ask about the bus drivers.
Yeah, so that's part of the RFP. That's something we've already discussed is, Dr. Russell calls right of first refusal. So like we would put in the contract that the contractor has to interview our current employees, and it's up to employees to either accept our offer or not. So they have the first right and the first opportunity to get those open positions that are created with outsourcing. Because we obviously, us and the contractors want people who know the routes and know the kids. It just makes sense for them to hire.
Keep it flowing.
Yeah, they definitely have a leg up over anybody else.
So it's going to be, I don't have total costs. That's just 180 to 250.
It's gonna add to whatever your total cost is now.
Correct, and that's based off fully staffed numbers. So that's if we hire everybody at this rate. The caveat with this is, just say we get 3 positions, we're still outsourcing the remaining positions.
Anyway.
How many positions do we outsource?
I think currently we have 6. Looking at what we're in the back.
So we have 6 total in-house, and then we get,
And then
We have 6 outsourced.
6 outsourced
Oh,
right now
okay.
to our 5.
To
We
our
are
5.
upside down right now.
okay.
And,
We're there.
and the unfortunate thing is the outlook of hiring drivers is bleak here at the district at our current rate.
Right.
So
somewhere in the $300 range that we're paying the contractors a day, will that come down?
So that's gonna be part of the RFP process. I cannot predict what they're gonna charge us.
So I want-
So, I was gonna say, some of the benefits here, what I said was look at the consolidation. So currently, we have a contract for special needs, we have a current contract for non-pubs, current contract for athletics, and current contract for sub-drivers. We would look to consolidate all those into one, get economy of scale that says this vendor gets all of our routes, all of our services, give us your best number. That's, I think, we're gonna get the best.
And can we ask for like 3 to 5 years
So-
for the proposal?
We can go any range. Typically, transportations are anywhere from 4 to 7. And it just kind of depends on what the district's comfortable longevity-wise for that contract.
But it
And
will.
the
it will-
contractor.
Okay, so it'll protect us and them to come to a mutual, workable, feasible
Correct.
arrangement.
Yeah, if a contractor can't meet that, they just wouldn't put a contract in. If they can, obviously they will, and we just correct.
My problem with outsourcing like that is, it sounds good in the first few years, then they raise rates real high because they know they got you.
Well, that's, look at
Now
it.
with their in-source, with our in-house.
So,
we can't
if
get
you go back
anybody.
to the other, page, the first option, are you saying the contractor rate, that's what the driver's getting, 125 to 145? No, that's the driver's portion of what we're paying the contractor.
We're paying
That's
for
what
the
the driver
double.
gets, that's their rate.
That's currently what they are estimated to be getting offered, is in that range,
So
depending on
we
the
outsource
contractor.
all driving except for pickup for school.
And the athletics, that internal people pick up. I think we do a couple offshoots.
Some special
Yeah, I was gonna say, we still do
Some special
some
needs.
band
We'll do some
special
special
needs.
needs in-house. We do still some athletics, like I said, the drivers that we have, which we lost 3 of our really big trip takers
Yeah.
last year. So we do have fewer drivers that can take trips because the problem is a lot of the trips are, the students need to leave at 2 or 1:30
Yeah.
or 1:45, and I need my drivers to run home to school at home,
Conflict of
you
time.
know, in the afternoons. So that kind of leaves them not taking those trips unless they're from 4 o'clock on.
Right.
So then that's where the need for the contractor
And
comes
so
in.
did we lose those to the private bus companies? We lost those?
We just lost 2. We lost 2 bus drivers to a contractor in November and December because of pay. The contractors can just give them more than we can. And they're sweetening the deal with allowing them to bring their buses home. Like they have a driver that lives right up the street, she brings her bus home.
Yeah,
She doesn't even need to use her car or gas to get to work. You know, so it's stuff like that. We had a bus driver who was given a van to come home and go in. So they're,
You purpose
It's a no-brainer, yeah.
So Laura, I'll ask you if you can tell us, how do you feel about this? And how does, maybe as you speak on behalf of your staff?
Well, some of my staff is here. I was torn before the break. I've had to do a lot of soul searching because I do, we've always been in-house and I've always wanted to keep it in-house as best as I could, you know. Right after COVID was a real big, we lost a lot of people to that because they didn't want to work with the unknown. I was able to fill all of those spots but one. We are still carrying one since COVID that I'm outsourcing. So now I've got 5 on top of that. One, because we lost a driver, he retired, actually 2 retired and 1 died, passed away last year. So those were not things that we were planning on, you know, losing, and then we lost 2 again, the 2 that we just lost to money. So it took me from Thanksgiving to December to really start looking at the full picture. For my drivers, it would be beneficial if they went contract. They would get paid more. They could claim unemployment in the summertime, which we can't do when we're at the school district. There are other things like Christmas bonuses that other contractors give to their drivers that I can't give them. You know, there's all that. I think it would be beneficial for my drivers. And knowing for them that they have the option to keep their same route, you know, the certainty that they would have that option to keep it if they do so choose is also a plus.
So that's, we could write that into that we could give, like you said, right, for some refusals.
And if you'll indulge me, Steve, will you all, will you stay with us if we outsource?
That's not a fair question to ask.
I think one of the benefits of keeping in-house, I think you got, and it's not so much a dollar amount, it would be a lot more stability where you got, and history shows where you, if you, like say, work for the district, you're much more inclined to stay with the district, you know. And being on the outside, I think there's a lot more opportunity to, you know, naturally, I mean, if you're working for an outside contractor, you have no control over who's going to drive your bus. And, you know, of course they'll have the clearances, you know, and all that, but if one decides just to move, you got another bus driver. If they need another bus driver at a different location, they can move them. Where you got that little bit of instability as far as the contract, you know, the personnel part. Like I say, it's not so much financial because the dollars are all the same, but it would be, if you wanted to lean towards keeping stability on the routes with the drivers where the kids see the same driver every day, and they're picked up every day, they're dropped off every day by the same driver. Well, I don't know if you would keep that same stability with a contract. But financially, I don't think it would be a difference, you know, as far as the dollars.
Can I just mention something? I'm concerned also about the increase in our taxes. Tom, will our taxes are gonna go up no matter what. You might have answered that, but I still don't have that clear. 1% to 1.25 if we stay with Littlestown?
With this proposed rate, obviously the rate is what's on the screen, so 140, 150. If we would use that rate anywhere in between there, that's where that scale comes in. So to accommodate that, to just to say, when we go to this, we hire the 6 outsourced positions. We fully staff them. That's what it's going to cost additional. To accommodate that increase, we need additional revenue, which in form of taxes. So that's where that tax came in.
But
So,
you won't be paying the contractors, so, which we are paying now.
so that's where I talked about when I prefaced it. We still will be outsourcing all the special needs and the non-pubs and athletics. We're still going to need that. There's still going to be the conflict with that. The catch is, if we do this, we'll be able to fill those 6 positions. Because that's the reality is, even if we give them the money, there's no guarantee that says the contractor's not going to go to 160 to keep them. Like, that's what we all said, like, they can outpace us. If we do this, great, we can keep them in. What's to say next year they don't raise their rates because they saw us, they're like, oh, we can't do it this year, but next year we'll do it. Then we lose them again next year. It's that, we have that to play with. Then we have that, we have to stay competitive always if we make this giant jump. Because it is big. If we were close, they would be, oh, we could stay competitive every year, do a little bump every year. This is a jump. And to do that jump, you have to maintain that jump forever. It's not a one-time and done. We can maintain it. It's done, and then if they jump, we jump to keep them.
I think we'll be okay for the first contract, but then, I think Nick mentioned earlier, the next contract's gonna jump.
That's where everybody's at.
Yeah,
Because,
exponentially,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, just, you think about it, you're trying to predict the future,
Yeah.
you're trying to